Well, welcome once again, Pat. I gather the sun is still shining in Donegal.
Jude, it's Mediterranean Day today. In fact, it's been like this for this past 2 or 3 weeks. No need for Ryanair. The weather's fabulous.
So you're not depressed by Lochan with the sun shining in?
Not in the least. I've been sitting out this morning, and there's so many things you should be doing that we're not, but the weather's too good.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk today about that interview that Ryan Tubridy did with Michael D. Higgins, President Michael D. Higgins. It's where he's sitting in the gardens, I guess, of Arson Uachtaráin, and he's got the starry plough, a sculpture with the starry plough as a kind of a backdrop to them. Now, I'm going to put my cards on the table, Pat.
Yeah.
And I know this isn't a popular thing, but I honestly have to get past the fact Michael D. Higgins' heart is in the right place, but he irritates me. There's something about him. I was trying to get what it was, and I think it is that when he should be walking, he struts, and when he should be talking, he proclaims.
Yeah.
Can
you've thought about this, haven't you?
Well, I was trying to figure out, because I mean, I'm filled with prejudices, and I try to overcome them whenever I can. But there is an irritation there. But leave that. You don't find that, obviously.
No. Look, I like Higgins, and he's articulate, he's intelligent, and you almost have a bias or a prejudice against him when you see him as appearance. Jesus, I'm going down your road here, but you forget about it in 2 seconds. When he goes abroad, he represents us really well. He speaks properly and he talks intelligently, and you realize there's a serious brain working. Right, okay, now Jude, let me go to you the part. I think you're gonna. Here's a man on 250,000 a year. I think he has 2 7 Series BMWs, 2 top of the range, Mercs or Perks, or what the hell you call these things anymore. Yeah, and so on. And there's a shade of the Bonos and the Bob Geldofs here. I want everybody to be, on a level, but I'm not. I talk the talk, but I don't walk the walk. Now I looked it up Before
we get any further, maybe we should explain to people that in the course of this interview with Ryan Tubridy, this question of the workers who were so good and the health workers and all the rest of it, and he spoke about how they really need to follow through in this and look in terms of how they can be remunerated, how their work can be secure, and how their conditions of work should be proper, and that we should reward them financially. I couldn't agree more, but sorry, I interrupted you. Just want to make that clear.
No. Right, there's a guy in, I think it's Uruguay, Jose Mujica. He was regarded as the world's poorest president. He gave away 90% of his salary each month. He drove rather than a Mercedes or a 7 Series BMW, he drove the clapped out VW Beetle. Apparently the value of it was something like $1,200 and all the rest. So he not only talked the talk as a socialist, he walked the walk. Now Michael D is setting up, and I sit and watch I love his Donegal tweed suits. They didn't fall off. They didn't fall off a hanger and done stores for 30 quid. These ones cost serious money. And his dogs apparently cost something like 10,000 a year to groom. Wow. Now they are lovely and all the rest, and they're beautifully, and anybody comes to meet the Irish president, they're lovely things to see. But there is a contradiction there. Now, having said that, Jude, I am not going to go over the top and knocking him, because there's something about him I like. He stands for something, and he has got courage. Like when he was president, when Castro died, everybody else was condemning Castro. They all following the American line. He actually went out and, you don't necessarily have to agree with it. There were things Castro done that were pretty lamentable. But at least Michael D had the courage to say, I lament the passing of this man, because he tried to do the right thing.
Well, my memory is that Michael D over the years always had a reputation for being concerned for sort of left-wing movements in Nicaragua or South American countries. But I also felt that he rarely, if ever, showed the same concern for conditions for people, left-leaning people in the north of Ireland. But that's not the issue at the moment. I want to come to what he said about, remunerating these people who have worked so hard and are really vital to us. And I think he's dead right. But as you say, he's earning 250,000 a year. He's going to be doing that for 14 years, so you can do the math there. He's living in a house with 98 rooms. 98 rooms for two people. He's driven around in a Rolls Royce or a BMW or whatever it is. I'm sure he doesn't have to do the washing up or do the cooking, or does Sabina have to do it? So he is literally living in the lap of luxury. Now the question is, a couple of questions. One would be, should we make that available for presidents because he is the head of state? Does he deserve that? Are we right to mark them out by giving them, superior living conditions?
No, I don't believe in this privileged class thing. Like, I have a lot of English friends, and one thing I've never got is this thing about royalty that they have. I just can't buy it. The absolute concept that somebody is born by accident of birth superior to someone else.
Yeah, but that's
but hold on, it's the same applies. Like, I think a president who represents a country should have a certain status, definitely. But not.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by
that? What's the average salary in Ireland? Maybe in the Republic, maybe 50,000 euros a year. Now, 100,000 euros a year would be more than adequate. Not 250,000. Live in a reasonable house. Now, you need a bit of security, but this sort of palatial, grandiose, I think it's way over the top. I think we need to cut. Like, the president of Ireland, I think on a pro rata basis, is way ahead of the president of America. So one's a clown and the other is actually a good president. Guess which one I'm talking about. But for a country our size, we should cut our cloth. Not this. There's almost, Jude, I think, a sort of hangover from the old British thing. That our rulers were so superior that it had to be seen. But hey, hold on, Jude, as well as you well know, and we have talked about this before. The Catholic Bishop of Derry, when I remember him, used to run around in the back of, I think, of a Bentley, and he had a driver because he wanted to be seen to be sort of have the status. So, like, where are we going with this?
Well, I think partly the Irish people themselves are to blame for that, because if you look throughout the various parishes, certainly in the north here, very often the parochial house is a really big house. And I have a feeling people did that because they want to be able to say, at a some sort of subconscious level maybe, look, our guys are just as important as your guys. Look at the big church we built. Look at the lovely big house our PP has. So there's a kind of a collusion, as it were, that the clergy get privileged positions. But I agree with you totally. I would certainly, you don't want the president, you want him to have dignity. You don't want him to, scrape a few bob together. But at the same time, this is really out of hand. And I really think that even they divided it in two. Like, I mean, if there was only 48 rooms in the place, him and Sabina would have over 20 rooms each.
I think it's the lack of proportionality, Jude. That's one compared to the other. Like, if your average person is earning 50,000 a year, somebody on 250,000, and there is that thing about hypocrisy. He claims to be a socialist and lives in a 96-room mansion, has two 7 Series BMWs, has 96 rooms, probably a pension. When he retires, he'll probably be on 120,000 a year for the rest of his life. So it's not exactly living in poverty and scraping by, wondering where the next meal is coming from.
Okay, here's a hard question for you, Pat. What pay do you think the health workers, the shelf stackers, the lorry drivers, all the vital people whose role we suddenly appreciated when we were at their mercy, so to speak, and they responded so well, what pay do you think they should get?
Jude, I think it's very simple. It's easy to work out what's a good living wage in any society. And those people should, rather than scraping by, they should have a living wage that they can live a decent life on. Jude, let me tell you something. There's ample proof of it, what's happening here in the Republic of Ireland. When the lockdown happened, the government brought in this scheme to give workers, I think it's 350 euros a week, as a sort of a substitute for their earnings. A lot of people are not going back to work, and they've discovered a way. A lot of people are earning 350, which was a lot more than they were earning before the lockdown. So 350 a week is actually, if there's two people in the house, that's €700 a week coming into the house. Suddenly these people, you know, but the people who were paying them less than 300, they were not employers. They were, what would you say, exploiters of poverty. Because try living in a society where if you go down the town and try to buy a cup of coffee, it's going to cost you £2.50, £3.
The harder question still, Pat. In that chain, you had all sorts of people. You had doctors, surgeons, nurses, hospital cleaners, porters, and so on. Now, which of those was most important? Let's take two extremes. The hospital person who washed the floor, cleaned the place, disinfected it, or the doctor?
Jude, I have to go for the doctor, because I'll tell you why. I took the doctor, and not that one is less important, but one is more, what would you say, needed. Like a doctor spends 7 years or 8 years doing medicine, studying, and has to qualify. And you know, the hospital cleaner might not be able to save your life, but the doctor might. So the importance. But hold on to that. That's reality.
Not true. You say that the hospital cleaner might be able to save your life. Of course, the hospital cleaner might be able to save your life.
Come on, you're just being deliberate. Like you're
rampant in the hospital.
Yeah, I know. But you know, I don't need to spend 7 years at university to learn how to sweep a floor. By the way, I am not degrading or all the rest of it, and I think it should be treated. And the delivery van and the shacks, the shelf stacker deserve respect and a decent wage. But come on, Jude, you can't seriously say that the guy who walks in off the street and wipes the floor with a mop, and it's a job worthy of, as I say, dignity and respect, is the same as a guy who spent 7 years slogging, or a woman who spent 7 years slogging their brains out to try and become a qualified medic.
I agree, it's not the same. Obviously, it's not the same. But the question is this: do you then say the longer you spend in education, the more money you should be paid? And why?
No, that's go to the other directions. Like I've met that. Jude, there's no such thing. There's total contradictions in this. I've met rich people who are total morons, and I've met absolute geniuses who have lived in poverty. It doesn't work the way you're suggesting it's working.
My point would be this, and we've only got about 3 minutes left if we're going to try to keep that cap on this. That if a job is life-saving, and we all agreed, I couldn't have managed without the guys who delivered me my groceries. You know, I would have starved if someone hadn't done it. So all of those we are agreed were vital to us.
Absolutely.
Now, are we going to say we're really going to pay one an awful lot more because he went to school longer? Well, you know, in a sense, that's saying because at best he was lucky enough to be smart and able to go on, that he deserves more. Well, I just don't buy that in terms of equality.
No, Jude, I don't say the disparity in wages now has become so ridiculous. The proportionality of it's right across the board, but there has to be some recognition of the fact that if I walk in off the street and start cleaning the floor in a hospital, I'm doing a very important job, and I'm not disputing that. No one's disputing that. I don't think after COVID, certainly nobody is. But how do you then say the guy who came up with the cure for COVID or all the rest, who spent 7, 8 years or maybe 10, 15 years doing research, you know, which is the more important job? There has to be some recognition, you know, of the fact that somebody's put in the effort to get to that level.
You can recognize that, but you don't necessarily have to pay them more money. You know, everybody should get a decent salary. I agree that. Start with that. I mean, that goes without saying. But I'm just wondering, even when you get people up to a decent level, is it okay for some guys to be earning 2, 3 times, 10 times, 20 times as much? Or
no, but it's like Jude, isn't it the old story? There was two tribes in Rome. There was the plebs and there was the patricians. And usually the patricians were always the emperor. So one time this pleb became the emperor, and somebody says, "Oh, you soon forgot us when you got." He says, "Well, my idea is to bring you up to my level, not me to go down to yours." So that's, you know, I think everybody deserves a reasonable. Hey, Jude, let me tell you, Hume told me a long time ago, John Hume. One day we're sitting there discussing, and he says that the catalyst for the troubles in the north were the fact that in Derry there were 5 or 6 boys on a Monday morning sitting at street corners, go another 5 or 10 yards, there'd be 5 more. The people had nothing to do, no hope, no aspiration on it. He said, had those people been given a job, been allowed, had enough money to bring their wives out once a week to the local restaurant or a cafe or whatever, and once a year maybe to Spain for 10 days to Bella Medina or whatever, he says, we would never have the troubles. He says, because people deserve respect, the right to work, and to have a decent living. Right? There's a philosophy on one. But what I think you're looking for, what your suggestion is, no, I would love it. I would agree with you totally. But it's utopian.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is just a minute. 10 seconds, Pat. So you think that Michael D. Higgins is a very, very good president, or you think he's a hypocrite?
2 in 1. He's like that oil, 3 in 1.
Okay, Pat, that's good. We'll talk to you again.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.